The silence is what's killing me. It's a loud, ringing silence that fills up all the spaces Sophie used to occupy. This was our apartment. Now it's just my apartment, and her half of it isn't just empty, it's surgically clean. She didn't just pack, she erased herself. Her ridiculously large collection of coffee mugs from different national parks? Gone. That dog-eared copy of a geology textbook she kept on her nightstand as a comfort read. Vanished. Even the hideous, fluffy pink bathrobe she swore was the pinnacle of comfort, the one I always made fun of, is gone from the hook on the bathroom door. All that's left is the sterile, sharp scent of lemon cleaner, as if she scrubbed away any lingering trace of her scent of us. I'm just sitting here on the couch. I think I've been here for hours. My phone is heavy in my hand. Her contact is pulled up on the screen. Sophie, just Sophie. No cute emoji next to her name. She always said they were illogical. My thumb hovers over the call button, but I can't press it. I physically can't, because I know what I'll get. The same thing I've gotten for the past 48 hours. That cheerful, robotic voice telling me the number is unavailable. Blocked. I messed up. God, I know I messed up on a cosmic level, but I keep replaying it in my head over and over. It was just one sentence. One stupid, awful, throwaway sentence at a party. How does one sentence erase a person from your life? How does it make them a ghost? To understand why I did what I did, you have to understand the two worlds I was living in. It sounds dramatic, I know, but that's exactly what it felt like. My first world, my real world, was with Sophie. Our life together was solid, grounded. It's the perfect word for it because Sophie's a geologist. Her entire existence is based on things you can touch, things that are real and have history. Rocks, soil samples, topographical maps. She finds beauty in strata and fault lines. Our weekends weren't about scenic brunch spots. They were about driving 2 hours to find a specific type of quartz deposit or hiking a trail she'd mapped out. Our nights were spent on the couch, watching documentaries about tectonic plates, her feet tucked under my leg. She was the most honest person I've ever met, almost to a fault. She didn't have a poker face because she saw no logical reason to develop one. If she was happy, you knew it. If something was bothering her, she'd state it plainly, like, "Brianna, your habit of leaving wet towels on the bed is statistically likely to cause mildew." It wasn't mean. It was just a fact. Our relationship was built on that kind of bedrock, stable, predictable, and safe. Then, about 6 months ago, I landed a job at a high-end PR firm and I stepped into my second world. This world wasn't built on bedrock, it was built on air. On perception, on witty retorts that evaporated the second they were spoken, on who knew who and who was seen where. My colleagues were sharp, funny, and intimidatingly cool. They were the kind of people who used summer as a verb and had standing reservations at restaurants I couldn't even pronounce. Their conversations were a rapid-fire volley of inside jokes and casual name-dropping. I was so desperate to be one of them. I'd sit in our Monday meetings, listening to my boss, Cassandra, talk about a yacht party she'd attended over the weekend, and I'd feel this painful, churning mix of awe and inadequacy. I'd go out for drinks with them after work, nursing a single, ridiculously overpriced cocktail for 2 hours, just nodding and laughing along, feeling like a complete and utter fraud. They'd ask me what I did over the weekend, and I'd find myself editing my life. Hiking with Sophie became exploring this really rugged, off-the-beaten-path trail upstate. Watching a documentary became catching this incredibly niche indie film. I was translating my real, happy life into a language they would find acceptable, and with every translation, it felt a little less real. Sophie noticed, of course. She'd see me scrolling through my colleagues' Instagram feeds, a little frown line appearing between her eyebrows. "You seem stressed," she'd say, a simple observation. "Do you actually like these people?" I'd get defensive. "They're my colleagues, Soph. It's called networking. It's important for my career." But she wasn't talking about my career. She was talking about me. She could see the foundation shifting beneath my feet. The need to belong, to be seen as one of them, it wasn't a sudden thing. It was a slow drip, a low-grade fever that I didn't even notice was raising my temperature. I started to see my comfortable, loving life with Sophie through their imaginary, judgmental eyes. Stable became boring, quiet became dull, safe became unadventurous. Sophie was my anchor, but I was starting to resent the rope. I wanted to float, to be carried along by their glittering, superficial current. I just didn't realize it would pull me so far out to sea. The party was at Cassandra's downtown loft, the kind of place with floor-to-ceiling windows and art on the walls that was probably worth more than my car. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the sound of clever people laughing at their own clever jokes. I was on my third glass of champagne, and it was doing that dangerous thing where it makes you feel witty and charming instead of just slightly clumsy. I was performing, and for the first time, I felt like I was nailing it. I just told a self-deprecating story about a PR disaster I'd averted, embellishing it just enough to make myself sound like a scrappy hero, and they were eating it up. That's when Cassandra, leaning against her marble kitchen island, swirled her wine and looked at me. "So, Brianna," she said, her voice carrying over the low thrum of the music. "Where's your rock collector tonight? Sophie, right? Did she have a hot date with a sedimentary basin?" A few people chuckled. It wasn't overtly mean, but it was a test. A little jab to see if I was one of them, if I could take a joke at my own life's expense. And in that moment, a wave of pure, undiluted panic washed over me. I saw Sophie in my mind's eye, in her practical hiking boots and flannel shirt, and I imagined trying to explain her to these people. The quiet intensity, the way her face lit up when she talked about the Jurassic period. They wouldn't get it, they would see her as boring, and by extension, they would see me as boring. The fraud would be exposed, so I did what any coward would do. I sacrificed her to save myself. I laughed a little too loudly. "Oh God, no," I said, waving my hand dismissively. "She's at home, probably alphabetizing her rock collection." More laughter. I felt a sick, thrilling surge of acceptance. I was in. I leaned in, lowering my voice conspiratorially. "She's, the boring backup plan." The words felt slick and ugly coming out of my mouth, but I couldn't stop them. "She's the one I know is always there when I'm done with all this." I gestured around the glittering room. Stable, reliable, but God, so incredibly dull. The laughter that followed was louder, more genuine. I had passed the test. Cassandra smiled at me, a real smile, and for one brief, pathetic second, I felt like I belonged. My heart was pounding with the thrill of it. I took a triumphant sip of my champagne, and as I lowered the glass, my eyes scanned the room, looking for my next witty remark. And then I saw her. She was standing near the entryway, partially obscured by a group of people. She wasn't supposed to be there. She must have come to surprise me. She was holding a small paper bag, the kind from our favorite bakery, the one that sold the lemon tarts I loved. She wasn't crying, she wasn't angry. Her face was perfectly, terrifyingly calm. She just looked at me, and in her eyes I saw it all. It wasn't hurt, it was assessment. It was the look she got when she examined a piece of granite and instantly identified its composition and its flaws. It was a look of final, irrefutable understanding. She saw me. The real me, the weak, pathetic, cruel person I had just revealed myself to be. Our eyes locked for maybe 3 seconds. She gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of her head. Then she placed the paper bag on a nearby table, turned around, and walked out the door. The crowd swallowed the space where she had been, and it was like she had never been there at all. My stomach turned to ice, but the champagne in my veins whispered a dangerous lie. "It's fine, she's just being sensitive. You can fix this tomorrow." There was no tomorrow, not for us. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache and a mouth that tasted like regret. The space next to me in bed was cold. That wasn't unusual. Sophie was an early riser. I stumbled out of the bedroom, rehearsing my apology. I'd make her coffee, I'd bring her one of the lemon tarts she'd brought me, and I'd explain. I'd tell her I was drunk, that I was an idiot, that I didn't mean it. But the apartment was too quiet. Her laptop wasn't on the kitchen table where she always left it charging. Her running shoes weren't by the door. I walked to the closet, a cold dread coiling in my gut. I pulled the door open. Her side was empty, not just her clothes, but everything. The neat stacks of sweaters, the row of practical shoes, the old university hoodie she slept in when it was cold. All gone. I ran to the bathroom. Her toothbrush was gone. Her face wash, her shampoo, the specific brand of unscented lotion she used. It was like a magic trick. A person had been meticulously edited out of a photograph. That's when the real panic set in. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking so badly I could barely type in the passcode. I called her, straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail. I sent a text. "Sophie, please call me. I am so sorry. I was an idiot." No delivery confirmation. I tried iMessage. The blue bubble turned a stark, accusatory green. Blocked. I scrambled to Instagram. Her profile was gone. User not found. Facebook, I couldn't even search for her name. Blocked everywhere. There was no fight, no screaming match. No tearful confrontation where I could beg and plead and promise to change. She hadn't given me the chance. She had simply amputated me. It was a clean, swift, silent cut. There was no note, no final text, no angry email. The only message was the gaping void she left behind. The silence was the verdict. This was her absolute principle in action. I had known this about her intellectually. Sophie didn't believe in shades of gray when it came to trust. For her, it was a binary state. It was either there or it was not. You were either a stable geological formation or you were seismic rubble. and I had just proven in the most public and humiliating way possible that I was rubble. In her world, a person who could say something so fundamentally untrue and cruel to impress a room full of strangers wasn't a person who had made a mistake. They were a person who was structurally unsound, and you don't try to build a life on an unsound foundation. You condemn the sight and walk away. She didn't rage, she didn't seek revenge. She just executed a decision based on the data I had provided. It was the most Sophie thing she could have possibly done, and it was the most devastating. In the days that followed, my world shrank to the size of my phone screen. I was a mess, a raw nerve of panic and regret. My first desperate instinct was to activate the network I had so pathetically tried to join. I called Cassandra. Cassandra, I said, my voice cracking. I need your help. Sophie's gone. She left. Do you know where she might be? Do you have her work number? There was a pause on the other end of the lines. It was a weighted, uncomfortable silence. Oh, wow, Brianna, that's intense, she finally said, her voice lacking any of the warmth from the party. Look, I don't think I should get in the middle of this. It sounds really personal. But you were there, I pleaded, my voice rising with hysteria. You heard what I said. I was just joking. I was just joking. Yeah, about that, she said, and her tone shifted into something cool and distant, the HR-approved voice of someone carefully detaching themselves from a problem. It was a pretty rough joke, Brianna. To be honest, it made a few of us uncomfortable. My blood ran cold. Uncomfortable, you were laughing. Well, yeah, it was awkward. We didn't know what else to do, she said, the lie so blatant it was breathtaking. Listen, I have to hop on a call. I hope you guys work it out, truly. And she hung up. I tried a few other colleagues who had been there who had laughed along with her. The response was a variation on the same theme, an awkward cough, a mumbled, sorry to hear that, a quick excuse to end the conversation. They weren't shunning me in some organized, malicious way. It was worse. They were simply indifferent. The drama I had created was messy, and their pristine, curated lives had no room for mess. I was a liability, a loose cannon. The joke I had made to earn my place among them had instantly disqualified me. I wasn't one of them. I was just the sad girl who publicly humiliated her girlfriend for a few cheap laughs. The performance was over, and the audience had gone home, leaving me alone on the stage with the spotlight shining on my own ugliness. The cruelest irony was that the only person I could have talked to about this, the only one who would have listened without judgment and offered a logical, calming perspective was Sophie. I had built a flimsy, temporary stage with these colleagues, and to do it, I had dynamited the very bedrock I was standing on. A week after she left, I finally worked up the courage to deal with her closet. I couldn't keep staring at the empty space. It felt like an open wound in the room. I was hoping, I think, that I'd find something, a forgotten note, a clue, anything that felt less final than the silence. Most of it was just empty. Dust bunnies in the corners where her hiking boots used to be, but shoved way in the back of the top shelf behind a stack of old blankets was her old tablet. It was an outdated model she hadn't used in years, the one she replaced after spilling coffee on it. She must have forgotten it was even there. My hands were trembling as I plugged it in. I didn't know what I was looking for, maybe old photos, something to remind me of what I'd lost. After a few minutes, the screen flickered to life, and there it was. She hadn't closed the last tab she'd been using. It was a File Explorer window, and the folder open was titled simply Our Oregon Trail. My breath caught in my throat. I clicked it open. It was a meticulously planned 2-week road trip. A PDF itinerary detailed every single day. There were reservation confirmations for a vintage Airstream trailer. Links to articles about the best stargazing spots in the Alvord Desert. A saved screenshot of a conversation with a local guide about a private tour of the John Day fossil beds, something she knew I'd find fascinating. She had mapped out hiking routes, from easy afternoon strolls to a challenging climb up a mountain peak, with little notes in the margins like, Brianna will love the view from here. Or pack extra snacks for B on this day, it's a long one. The final confirmation, dated just 2 days before the party, was for a secluded cabin near Crater Lake. It was for the weekend of our anniversary. The booking notes read, celebrating 5 years, request for cabin with the best view of the night sky, please. It's a surprise. She had been building our future while I was busy trying to impress people who didn't matter. She was taking our boring, stable life and quietly weaving in the kind of magic and adventure I stupidly thought I was missing. This trip, this beautiful, thoughtful, perfect plan, was her answer to the stress she saw in me, her way of pulling me back to our bedrock. It was her silent, loving argument against the shallow world I was so desperate to join. I closed the tablet and just sat there on the floor, the dust motes dancing in the sliver of light from the window. The full weight of what I had done crashed down on me. It wasn't just a mean joke, I hadn't just insulted her, I had desecrated something sacred. I had taken her love, her quiet, steady, thoughtful love, and I had branded it as boring for the entertainment of strangers. That was the moment the last of my denial shattered, and it was the moment I realized the silence wasn't a punishment, it was a consequence. It's been 3 months now. The ringing silence in the apartment has faded to a dull, constant hum. I go to work, I come home, I eat takeout standing over the sink, I exist. About a month ago, the block on her Instagram was lifted. It wasn't an olive branch. I knew that immediately. It was a statement she wanted me to see. It was a conscious choice, a final, clinical incision to make sure I understood the totality of what I had thrown away. And so, this is my life now. This is my nightly ritual. I sit here in the dark, the only light coming from my phone screen, and I watch the life she's building without me. I have become a ghost haunting the edges of her happiness. She went to Oregon, alone. There's a picture of her standing on the rim of Crater Lake, the water a shade of blue so deep it looks unreal. She's not smiling for the camera, not in that posed, self-conscious way I do. She's smiling at the view, a genuine, unburdened smile of pure awe. She looks lighter, freer. There's a picture of her feet, clad in her favorite hiking boots, propped up on the dashboard of that Airstream trailer, the sunset painting the desert sky in shades of orange and purple behind them. The caption reads, "Found some good rocks and some peace." Each post is a perfectly crafted little razor blade. There's one of her holding a fossil she found, her face glowing with the kind of nerdy passion I used to find so endearing. There's a short video of her, hair whipped by the wind, laughing as she stands on a windy Pacific Coast beach. She never posted much when we were together. Now her feed is a vibrant, living document of her new beginning. I lost everything, I lost her. And those friends, those witty, sophisticated people I was so desperate to impress. I see them sometimes, at work or in the neighborhood. They give me a tight, pitying smile and a quick nod before hurrying away. I am a social leper, a walking cautionary tale. I traded my whole world for a seat at a table where no one ever wanted me to sit. So this is my hell. Not a fiery pit, but a quiet, lonely room with a glowing screen. My punishment is to be the sole, silent audience to the beautiful life she's living, a life that was supposed to be ours. I scroll, and with every image, I feel the weight of that one stupid, careless sentence. The boring backup plan, it turns out she wasn't the backup plan. She was the only plan that ever mattered, and I was the one who was too boring, too weak, and too hollow to deserve it.